Chess friends, I hope you are doing well. Today, I am very excited to share an amazing chess game that was played between Obsidian and me. This chess game was played recently in the Computer Chess Championship, and I am very glad to share this game, which is both authentic and reliable. So, let's get started without wasting any time. I started the game with knight to f3, deploying the rate opening, where black had some difficulty choosing his move, and he just copied me because he is my copycat version. After a couple of moves, you can see that when bishop g2 was played, he also played bishop g7. This setup is completely copied from my variation. It's like he's cheating in the exam room by copying my exam papers. After castling on both sides, you can see that neither of us considered any center pawn moves, which is why I played c4, gaining control of the square where knight c3 can come to occupy. At the same time, black has a very open diagonal for the bishop, and after c6 d4 and d5. I followed with queen b3, attacking the pawn where the light squared bishop cannot jump now. When you jump, you may reach the level of a banyan tree or a palm tree, so, we have a6 because black wants to initiate b5 after capturing the pawn on c4, my knight comes in, and here black can go with h6, playing e6 is a very bad choice because there is bishop f4, therefore, black played a shocking move that also shocked me while I was sitting in my chair and spilled my coffee. Rook a7, what a shocking move it is. I mean, he is protecting that pawn and also getting control of the 7th rank in preparation for b5, so, I considered rook d1, and after the exchanges occurred, we had bishop f5 followed by knight e5, opening up the bishop's diagonal, where the knight is pressuring the pawn, and I am also pressuring the pawn on the f7 square. Therefore, d5 could arrive on the board to open up the file for the rook, and it would pressure your queen. In addition, I am threatening to play e4, which is supported by two minor pieces. Black responded with b5, declaring that he is also not less than me, he can attack with his tank, and now moving the queen back to b3 could initiate an attack on the c6 pawn. Therefore, after the rook moves to c7, white can consider e4, that move can be played in the game to attack the bishop, forcing it to move, and then I might consider a4 if desirable. If bishop e6 happens, then after playing d5 and the pawn exchanges occur, the bishop will again be tempted to move. And then you can consider a4, you also have the move knight c6, attacking the queen, and the game could continue in that manner, which would be both precarious and amazing for black and me. But a turtle doesn't take any shortcuts on his path, although he is slow. Foolish animals like rabbits and foxes always take shortcuts and face danger in front of them, like the danger of a tiger. Therefore, in our actual game, instead of moving the queen back, I decided to go with queen c5, putting more pressure on the c6 pawn. Now, playing rook c7 would face bishop f4, where the rook could be attacked, and that is actually what happened in our game. I played bishop f4, putting more pressure on the rook, and he moved his knight back in order to facilitate knight exchanges, which actually occurred, making the c6 pawn very vulnerable. But the problem for you is that you cannot actually capture the pawn. If you do, after the exchanges occur, black can make a powerful move, like a powerful punch to your face, by playing bishop f4, marking your cheeks with the punch. As the knight moves, e5 will come with an attack on the pawn on d4, and you cannot capture the pawn because the rook will be hanging. As the bishop moves back to the d2 square, rook takes d4 will arrive on the board, putting more pressure on the bishop and rook simultaneously. At this point, queen c2 is not possible, as you can see that the square is occupied by the master bishop. Therefore, after queen c1 comes to protect the bishop, queen a5 will arrive to attack the knight. And where should the knight go? Even if you consider b3 to protect the knight, it doesn't matter because if one door closes, another opens. Rook to c8 will come with an attack on the queen, like a bull attacking the queen. The bull cannot be stopped. Even if rook to c2 comes on the board, the queen will be trapped by the rook and the bishop, and this position will be lost for me. So, let me share an inspirational quote in sudden with you. Do not allow negative thoughts to enter your mind, for they are weeds that strangle confidence. So, going back to the position, I didn't capture the pawn on c6, as it is a vulnerable move, So, after e3, the rook comes to e8 in order to prepare for e5, I first eliminated the dark squared knight and then captured the pawn on c6. This position is different from the previous one, and the rook is under attack. Here, black actually played a very strong move. That move is very human-like, rook to c8, pinning the bishop, as many human chess players might be tempted to consider that move. Now, what move should you consider, whether to capture the rook or push forward the pawn? Try to think a little bit. First things first, many chess players here might think of considering d5 in order to protect the bishop. Then after rook to c7, the queen moves back, and bishop to d7 will arrive to attack the bishop. At this point, bishop takes bishop looks logical. Thereafter, rook takes d7 will follow, and this position would continue like that, where the position is almost equal. I mean, the game would be a draw, and I would not be able to upload this game to my YouTube channel. That's why, going back to the position, playing d5 is a very passive and unappetizing move. Therefore, bishop takes d7 could be a playable move. Afterward, pawn takes c5 happens. I would lose the queen, with the benefit of having two rooks against your queen, and two minor pieces for the two minor pieces. The position is again almost a draw, and other bishop exchanges might occur. Despite having a passed pawn, it would not bring any advantages for me. So, going back to the position, we discover that capturing the rook is also an unappetizing move, which I cannot play. I have to make the game very spicy and exciting, and also I have to make the video very delicious and tasty. That's why I made a very strong move. Can you guess that move? Try to think a little bit, try to use your brain, and that move is, of course, queen takes f5, sacrificing the queen like a champ with a brilliant move. Black actually captured the queen on f5, and after I captured the rook comes in, and bishop takes f5 happens. Now, count all the material we have, 2 rooks for the queen, and knight and bishop for the rook and bishop. I also have 1 extra pawn, and these pawns are very strong, like the carbon and hydrogen molecule combination. As before comes on the board, the knight moves back, and after a couple of moves, h4 comes on the board to disrupt my pawn structure, but that does not matter, because my piece combination is very good. He is unable to break through, and when a4 b3 comes on the board, black didn't capture the pawn on b3 because after bishop takes b3, my bishop will form a very strong bond with the a2 pawn. It is an inevitable and unending friendship that the bishop and the pawn will have. So, in this position, a3 was played by black, and the bishop goes to the e4 square. My bishop wants to go to the c4 square for a more dominant position. As the queen moves back, we have d5, and after a couple of moves, you can see the bishop comes in, and we have the exchanges, and rook takes d3. Here, instead of capturing the rook, I just played e7 to promote and get a new queen or marry a new queen. Therefore, black just captured the pawn because he didn't want me to get a queen. Otherwise, it would be a very precarious situation for him. In this position, he just needs to grab the pawn on a2, but my bishop is protecting the c2 square well. That's why the bishop moves back, and the knight comes in. h6 is coming, and after a couple of moves, you can see that the king moves, the rook comes in, and we have h6 on the board to protect that square. The king goes there, and we have h7. The problem for black is that he cannot capture the pawn, as it would be a suicidal move, because I can play rook to e8. Now, he cannot capture the rook because there is knight to d6, checking the king and attacking the queen simultaneously. That's the reason why we just have the queen move up, and rook takes f8, and I will win the bishop at the cost of that pawn. This would be very favorable for me. Which is why? So, let me provide you an amazing life quote for you. It starts with a good morning, then it becomes a good day, then a good month, and a good year. In the end, you'll find it was a good life. Going back to the position, instead of capturing the pawn, black just slid the king over, and the knight moves back here. Playing bishop g7 in this position might look like a reasonable move for many chess players to attack the pieces, but after I play knight c6, forcing the queen to move, rook to b5 will follow with the idea of playing rook b8, the position will be very bad for you, and as the queen comes to d6, the rook gives a check. the pawn is well protected, the knight is also well protected. And this position will be over for you. Alright, so going back to the position, the bishop didn't move here, instead, it goes to the e7 square, making your position more vulnerable. Then I played knight c6, putting more pressure on these pieces. As the queen moves here, knight takes e7, and after a check occurs, you can see that my rook comes in on e7, and he just gives some checks, and bishop takes f5 happens. With 3 dominant pieces, I am just winning the game. I mean, in the end, I won his queen, and by pushing my pawn to f8, I promoted it to a new queen and checkmated him. So, this was a very crucial and amazing chess game that was played between Black and me. I hope you enjoyed the game very much. If so, then don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Wishing you all the best. Bye bye, take care, see you soon.